Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us live. It is Tuesday night, July 6th, right here. My name is Sean Phillips. I am joined, as always, by my two co-hosts, Mr. Andy Van Bever and Travis Kirkendall. We are the Voice of Reason podcast right here in the lovely year of 2021. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Episode 20, by the way, I might add.
2-0. We made it to 20 and we haven't been canceled. That is surprising.
Yeah, one day at a time.
Yeah, you know. So
it's crazy to hear 20 bucks. I feel like we literally just started this podcast, and
it feels like it sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and we're doing one a week, so that's 20 weeks. Like that's wild.
We're getting close to the half-year mark.
Canceled. We missed a week too, so that's so crazy.
Did we miss a week?
We missed 1 week. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well,
maybe. I don't know. It's all blurred.
I am in the new studio.
It does.
I'm in the new studio now. See, so I have the, I actually have my mic mounted to the wall. I have my light mounted to the wall. I have Sean's mom. Never mind.
What?
Is
No, Julie.
Murray listening to this?
No. Murray.
Probably not.
Big Murray, Dad. Look out.
Big Murdoch.
Yeah, you guys have your nice setups tonight. I'm rocking the headphones again. So.
Well, you know.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah. We had yesterday wouldn't have been a good day for our podcast. We had to put a dog down yesterday, and so that was not a good thing. And so, but
yeah.
Well, it's just the stress of the move. We found out that the dog was diabetic and had blood sugar levels of over 400, which is,
Holy crap.
So yeah, she's 14 years old though, so
yeah. Well, your dog unfortunately fit into the category of a lot of 10-year-olds in the nation right now with how it's been post COVID season, but thankfully we don't have to put those children down.
Not yet anyway.
Conversation for another day. Yeah, right. Oh, so aside from that, how did the move go? Everything smooth transition.
Yeah. Big shout out to the Clopton Lady Hawks basketball team. Showed up at my house at 10 o'clock last Thursday morning. I had a 22-foot trailer loaded, a 22-foot tall. About, I think it was 8 foot wide and 9 foot tall. I had it filled front to back, and the girls had the whole trailer unloaded in under an hour. So it went quite well. And, again, thank you to those guys for all that they did and everything. So I was very, very pleased with help with that. But, we're down. I think we're down to about 25% of boxes left. I've still got to do a lot of home improvement stuff, but other than that, we're pretty good.
Cool. That's I like to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's good. It's good. I went down and got my Missouri driver's license today, and the stuff I have to go through to get my license plates, even, is ridiculous, but Illinois wants to hold on to everything they possibly can. So,
yeah. Travis, was there anything special that you wanted to announce?
Yes, Travis.
At least got posted on Facebook this week?
Yes, Travis, tell us.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I am married, and I've been married for over 2 years now. The only person that knew was my dad.
Douchebag alert. Douchebag alert.
The rest of my family. Yeah, right. And then we came out, finally told everybody about it.
Well, that's a different kind of coming out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I did my own version of coming out, I guess.
Right. Hey, coming out of somewhere, that's all that matters. No, it was funny because there was some speculation that it had happened. You kind of gave yourself away the last time I had seen you. at the wrestling show, you had your ring on, and we were just
I wasn't hiding it. I was wondering if someone was going to ask.
Yeah, no, that was the first time we had noticed. I was just like, because it was brought to my attention. I was like,
I don't know how we went this.
Maybe.
I don't know how we went 20 episodes and I haven't noticed a ring.
Well,
normally it's keistered.
Strategically, well, yeah. I don't know. I just probably wasn't. I don't know. That's weird. But yeah.
Well, 2 years late. Congratulations.
Congratulations, buddy.
For you guys. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really exciting.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
So are you guys gonna plan a reception or anything like that, or a ceremony in the future?
I was just talking to Andy about it. Me and her we're kind of, hopefully next year is kind of what we want to do. We want to take a trip to go. We talked about Hawaii. We've talked about Santorini. Somewhere and go. I guess technically it's renewing our vows now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we'd like to get away and have a private kind of close thing.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be really exciting.
Sean, how about you?
Yeah, we don't want to do the whole big thing.
How was your weekend, Sean?
Good. It was a lot of fun. I was just telling you guys I got to do my first on-screen film acting this weekend for a small local, regional. I guess I did have a bit of a travel, but it was just like a fan film production, but it was a lot of cool, met a lot of really cool people, did some good networking, and I cannot wait to share with you guys some behind the scenes stuff as it comes out, and the actual film itself. It was a lot of fun. It's a really good script, and so I think it's going to be super enjoyable. We got a whole bunch of other stuff lined up, lots of wrestling events coming up this month, so busy July before I settle into vacation first week of August. So we're chugging along. It's been good.
By the way, Ryan Robbins has just chimed in. He says, "Well, congrats! You officially hate all of your friends." I'm assuming that's aimed at Travis.
More than likely, yeah.
Don't take it personal. Most of my family didn't know for a long time. So
I'm sure he was. Yeah. I'm sure he was wanting a corn dog buffet or something. So
that's what he's hoping for. That is exactly what he's hoping for. He's like, I just wanted the dogs at the reception. That's all that matters.
Bev, get down here.
Get out of here, Bev.
That's funny.
Bev. Hey, man's got to eat.
That to me was still one of the funniest comedy. We can't say that on here, but that was, Sean, by far one of the funniest comedy routines that you ever in your stand-up routine. I was literally crying during that routine.
That was the first one, right?
Second, both. That was one of those.
I've been to both. I'm trying to remember.
That was one of the things that story, I should say, in particularly, is one that will always do well back home. When doing it. So it's one that always kills back home, and eventually, once I get back to doing stand-up more frequently and regularly, it's one that I'm going to learn how to turn it into a bit to make other people that don't exactly know about that situation laugh, which it'll be work, but we'll make it happen.
And then Robbins came back on here. He says, "Totally kidding," and he said, "Andy, I love corn dogs, but don't forget the wings." Okay, that's even more disturbing.
Oh God.
And that's a wrap.
Yep.
Right, that's the show.
That's it. Good night, everybody.
Oh, he didn't say that.
Greasy.
Yeah. By the way, we were supposed to have a special guest tonight, but unforeseen circumstances happened so we're going to actually move that back. And she and I are talking about possibly August because of the passing of her. I guess I can say, I'm not going to say who it is, but her boyfriend's mother had passed away, and so
Mm.
we're looking at August now. And then I was going to get our friend Matt Edelman on, and then he texted me this morning.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, he said he got called in to do hospital chaplaincy, and so he had to go in late today.
Yep.
But
we gotta have him back on.
Oh, he wants to come back on, and I need to share that to our page. We've been getting on to him about his dating or his marriage tips from Matt.
Oh, it's amazing.
And he hadn't posted one in a while, and he finally posted one last week. And again, he needs to get all these in like a DVD set or just a DVD clip, just a clip thing to put together. And I'm just like, I told him this morning, I was like, by the way, masterful job with your latest marriage tips. And he was just like, she doesn't know how lucky she is. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
So, he would say that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, but no,
that's great.
It's hard to believe that moving into our topic tonight. So when you guys know so I'm guessing the Olympics are starting here within the next 2 weeks. Am I correct on that? Or is that what you guys?
It's with, I think yeah. Let me look to confirm.
I don't know the exact date. I know it's coming up. But...
I wanted to say it was 2 weeks from Sunday, from the 4th. I thought they said like the 18th, I believe.
Friday, July 23rd.
The 20. Okay, so I was off. Yeah, so. Yeah, and there's so many different aspects about these games that are really, the fact that we're having these games is amazing to me. In that, with all these new, we're up to what they're calling it the Delta variant now, and so the fourth different variant of the COVID virus and coronavirus, whatever, and now we're bringing everybody in the world together into one big mixing pot where we can all stir it up some more and then send all these people back home. And I would just like to see what the protocol is in Tokyo right now, or what you're having to go through to get there and get in, and what their restrictions are going to be.
I'm assuming most of the athletes have been vaccinated, though.
Well, and so here's the other thing I was going to ask.
But
so when I got my, and I don't know where my card, I've got my vaccine card here somewhere, but from what I was told, when I was vaccinated back in April, they said that the vaccine is good until what I thought they said was till September. And I mean, did you guys get that same kind of understanding when you were vaccinated, or did you guys? I mean, what's the shelf life, or what's the effectiveness of the vaccine? I mean, because just like a flu vaccine, I mean, it's good for what they call every flu season. So I mean, are we going to?
I've heard like 4 months. I've heard 6 months. It's not like a one and done kind of thing.
No,
I've heard the 6 months thing is what I've heard. They didn't tell me anything, but I did the one and done shot, so maybe it's different. I don't know.
Well,
the Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I made a post, and this is kind of going off topic a little bit before I'll get back to the Olympics in a second, but I made a post yesterday. I had found this meme on, it was a political cartoon, and it's this child pointing at his mother, and he says, "What's that mark on your arm, Mama?" And she said, "It's my smallpox vaccine scar." And he's like, and the kid's like, "Why don't I have one?" And she said, "Because it worked." And then I had one of my response was, and this killed me. This one person, this is a far right person, said, "Orphans are going to ask this, why a vaccine killed their parents too, in my opinion." And I was like, and so I said to him, I said this guy's name, and I said, "Come on, what's the likelihood of that happening?" And he said, "I made a statement that is equally as absurd. Comparing the smallpox vaccine and the corona vaccine is irrational. One was studied for years, one was not. The only accurate comparison of the two would be that both were man-made diseases." And when you look at when you look at one of my other friends said many vaccines such as flu vaccine, shingles vaccine, tetanus vaccine, diphtheria, whooping cough, and others would require re-inoculation due to gradual loss of immunity or mutation of the virus. That's how the vast majority of vaccines work. And I'm still baffled by the level of ignorance that people are having with the COVID vaccine. I mean, how the far right is turning into the biggest. I mean, they were the ones who criticized anti-vaxxers, and now they're the ones who are saying, "Oh well, this is going to be killing people off." I'm just befuddled by the ignorance that people have towards this, and it's mind blowing.
I think the biggest issue, and I was just having this conversation with a friend of ours, Spencer, who you guys know. This has been one of the most politicized. I mean, the vaccine, COVID, it's been so politicized to the point that there's a lot of mistrust and there's a lot of misinformation and motives, and it makes it hard. And then you got, I think people too they don't like being something pushed on them, and this vaccine is just being shoved down people's throats. And I mean, I get it. Like, I don't think it's something that should be forced at all. Like, and I get that if you're not comfortable getting it, like, that's fine. I think there should be that choice there. And I personally was against it for the longest time. I went ahead and did it. But I just think the issue is the politics. I think that is the biggest issue that we've seen with this. Because I guarantee if this wasn't as politicized as it was, and it wasn't the left versus right using COVID as like this, leverage, whatever you want to call it, I think more people would have gotten it. I don't think people would have even like questioned it. Well, I don't think it would have been a thing because of that.
Well, I mean, you're seeing this now with a lot of universities. They're saying before people can come back in the fall. I know University of Illinois is doing this. I think Mizzou's doing this. They're saying, if you want to come back to campus and you want to take classes on campus, you are going to get a vaccine. And I mean, your schools. I know every public school that I know of in the state of Missouri, it's kindergarten, 7th grade, and freshman year, you have to have all of your shots up to date before they'll let you attend. And and they'll have shot clinics. If you don't have it, you're going down to the nurse's office or you're going home. And and I mean, this is what we have to look at as the new normal. I'm sure the people in Tokyo, when these people are wanting to buy tickets to venues and they're wanting to go to to compete, they're going to have to be vaccinated. And I mean, we'll see what the NFL looks like, with the season coming up upon us. I mean, they were. I don't think. I don't know what. How much did some of these stadiums get to towards the end of the season? I don't know what Lambeau and Arrowhead and all those guys had. And
I think there's only one stadium right now that I'm aware of, but just because I listen to some people that talk about it, there's only one stadium right now that hasn't announced max capacity for the NFL. Like, every stadium in the NFL will have max capacity except for Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis so far. It's the only stadium that hasn't said anything. Yeah. All the other stadiums are going to be at max cap. As far as my understanding, because there was an owners meeting about it a little bit ago. A little while ago.
So when we get to, all right, and Ryan Robbins he commented. He said 6 months is what I heard about the Pfizer shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, when we get to the 6 month period, and the first shots were like given in March. Okay, so we're going to be coming up on that renewal period.
About 2 months.
Yeah. So are we going to see another round of people saying, okay, you need to get the shot again, or what? I mean, are we going to see, are we going to start seeing spikes in, COVID numbers again, where we're going to have to get this? I mean, people are going to have to get re-inoculated. Is this going to become another political tool now. Travis, you got to see it. You're going to see it happen in the midterms next year, and this is going to be another political fight. I mean, what do we got?
Oh God, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for them to bring restrictions back to Chicago. I'm speculating that something's going to happen. And I want to go back. I think there's another issue too with people with the vaccine. When you have a guy like Fauci, who is still, telling Americans, who's still leading this whole COVID thing, I think there's just so much mistrust. And I mean, I get it. I mean, I get both sides of it, but there's just so many issues with everything that happened in 2020 and now. So, I get it.
Well, and as we move on then so with the Olympics itself, and I guess the big news has been this week, has been about Shaw Carey Richardson. She currently is the fastest woman in the world. Her 100-meter time, and this from a track coach's perspective, for a woman's time, 10.84 seconds in the 100-meter. And that is, I mean, what's the name? The guy from Jamaica, Usain Bolt, runs a 9.3. Okay, and so the difference 9.58. Thank you. And so for a woman to get a 10.84, okay, so she is banned for ESPN just released this 4 hours ago that she has got a 4-week ban for use of marijuana. Now, marijuana is not a performance enhancing drug in any way, shape, or form. And the reason why she had smoked marijuana, she was using, as a means for coping. She had found out, a week ago, that her biological mother had passed away. And by the way, if you guys hadn't heard this, she found out from a reporter who was interviewing her post-race, and that was the first that she had ever heard of it. And
oh my God! And
so she gets this news. She goes home. She, for some people, she's 21 years old. Okay, so she's still a kid. All right, and this is her way of coping. This is her whatever, and so she does it knowing what the risk is of that she's going to be tested, but she, this is her means of coping. It may not have been the best means of coping, but it was her means of coping, and so she's banned, and she's not on the women's 100-meter team. The 4x1 meter relay team was picked as the favorite for gold in Tokyo, and now they're going to go to an alternate because Carey Richardson is banned from marijuana use, and then being asked about it, Joe Biden was of course Joe. She used marijuana, so she's going to have to play by the rules.
There you
go. But no, that's basically what he said when they asked him at a news conference today, and he said that she's going to have to pay the penalty. So no help from Joe on that. But many people are
surprising me.
In some of the stuff that I was reading on this. She says Richardson blamed the positive test on her use of marijuana as a way to cope with the unexpected death of her biological mother while she was in Oregon for the Olympic trials. She was raised by her grandmother. It says she learned about the death from a reporter during an interview and called it triggering and definitely nerve shocking. Well, yeah. So,
Yeah.
And it was a what do you make of this, though? I mean, I know these people are supposed to be an example and everything, but I mean, there's got to be a point where the IOC has to have a little bit of compassion and say, okay, we understand what's going on. I don't know. Sean, you're the marijuana aficionado. So I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, go ahead.
Right.
Sean.
Well, You guys know my take on marijuana. The fact that it's not federally legal, I think, is a slap in the face to every last single American that walks the face of the planet Earth. As far as like from an athletic standpoint, yes, you're correct. Marijuana is not a performance enhancing drug. If anything, when it comes to performance, it is a performance disenhancement. Like it slows you down. It slows the mind. Now there's the argument that like, CBD and stuff like that, like components that are in marijuana there's health benefits to those, but completely different. Yeah. The issue lies in, look, if I could smoke weed every day, I would. I really would. I would use it to help me go to sleep at night. Literally, I know tons of people who don't abuse it during the day. I don't feel the need, because like it's the same with alcohol. I don't need to drink every day. I don't like to. But if I could take a hit before I go to bed to help me relax and fall asleep, yeah, I absolutely would. Can I? No. My job, drug test. My job, drug test very frequently. And for me, my career, my job, the thing that I have to do right now is for me more important than my ability to smoke marijuana or weed or cannabis, whatever you want to say, just because marijuana is technically like a made up word. You have to know when you are at that level, you have to know what the do's and the don'ts are when it comes to using drugs, recreational or performance enhancing. The other big thing about this was not like this happened 6 months ago. And I understand the timing of everything, but you have got to know when you are at the pinnacle of athletics in the world, less than a month out, about a month out from the biggest moment of your life, what did you think was going to happen? Look at like MMA fighters, like for the UFC with their deal with USADA. Right before fight week, like those 30 days, like those weeks and that month and weeks leading up, they are tested constantly. Now for the UFC specifically, they're not tested for THC. They don't care, but they're tested constantly. The weed is, believe it or not, and this is a big thing that a lot of people don't understand that are really, really going to bat for this woman. Weed is not looked at in other nations like it is in the United States. In the United States, we're kind of 50-50 on should it be legal, should it not be legal. There's a big chunk of the world that does not think it should be legal, a rather large chunk, like larger than a lot of people might think.
Really?
Yes. That is why THC is outlawed by the World Olympic Committee. Okay, this is not like it is just the United States that's cracking down on this. She has a ban from the U.S. doping organization, who adheres to the Olympic Committee. It is not just down. My understanding and from what I have seen is it's not just the U.S. that makes this decision. This is the Olympic Committee, which people forget. It does not just. It's not just made up of Americans. You have to know when you're this close that you're going to be tested. You have to know that. I know that I'm going to be tested randomly all the time for my military job. So to think that you're a world-class athlete, the fastest runner in the world, you don't think you're not going to be tested by the Olympic Committee 30 days out from competition?
Well, I mean, I agree with you to a point. I don't know. When my mom passed, I mean, I've never done drugs, I've never drank before, but I mean, when my mother passed away, that was probably the lowest point in my life. And just to I just say I know where she's at, but I mean, I agree with you in the point though, Sean. That's like you have to use a little bit of common sense, and I don't know. There is, and again, this is this younger generation saying, okay, I'm screw what everybody else thinks. I'm going to do my thing, and I don't think she realizes though too that maybe this opportunity may not come back around again for her.
I mean, what she's going to be 25 by the time she can compete again.
Yeah, and I mean by that time, there's only very few people in that Michael Phelps in that realm of athleticism in the world. The Usain Bolts. You don't see those kind of guys with that kind of lasting power. I don't even know if Michael Phelps is going to be in this Olympics or not, but I mean,
No,
still,
he retired after
He
the last one.
retired.
okay. So I
No,
mean,
he's
I don't,
retired.
I don't, I don't. You don't see people who Caitlyn Jenner, who used to be Bruce Jenner. When I mean, that guy was a machine. He was 1972, 1976, and 1980. And
An American hero.
yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
it was unheard of to be a competitor across two different decades in three different Olympics and be an actual competitor like that.
Yeah.
And Carrie Richardson. I mean, I watched her 100. I watched that race. I watched her. I mean,
Insane.
I watched her. I mean, people thought, okay, she's gonna have. Just how she walked. I mean, literally separated herself from the rest of the field. You just do not see that kind of thing. Now,
Look like the second coming of Bull.
yeah, oh yeah, yes. And do you think though that people is it the new thing though just to cast all cares to the wind when it comes to, okay, I don't, is it a lack of focus, or is it I'm entitled to mourn in my own personal way, screw what anybody else thinks? Or I mean, what is this? I mean, is it just a lack of focus, you think? Or what would you attribute that to?
Look, I can't speak on the effects of losing her mother and what went through what she was going through. I know individuals that didn't really have a relationship with their biological mother, and even when their biological mother passed, it took a huge toll on them.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's so tough because I would never anyone my take on it is, look, if there is something that you necessarily need to do to cope with your mental health, that you need to do to cope, and if that is where you are in life, then do it. Then cope. Your mental health should be the most important thing. You should put that forward. The issue is, you have got to understand that there will always be consequences to any action that you take. And unfortunately, this is one of those things where it was like the absolute worst possible timing ever. But I've seen a lot of things that have just said, like, oh, if she did not know that marijuana was on the list of banned substances for the Olympics, then the team around her failed her.
Yes.
The fact that again, I don't like putting blame on people, but not knowing yourself, not educating yourself to, like, hey, this is legal in the state that I'm smoking, but I'm 30 days out from the Olympics. Can I partake in this, or will I be in trouble if I get caught? You have to know that there are going to be those kinds of consequences. And the thing is, like, the big thing that a lot, like, so many folks are acting like this is just all America out to get her. Like, this is the rules of the World Organization. The Olympic Committee is made up from every nation that competes in the Olympics. It is not just America's decision. The U.S. Doping Agency follows the rules given to them by the World Olympic Organization. So, and in a little bit, because I want to get Travis' 2 cents on this, because I know when it comes to track and field, there's none greater that loves the sport. But I do want to talk a little bit about how people are trying to compare this to the Michael Phelps situation.
Yes.
We'll get
That's
it.
what I was gonna get at.
We'll get to that. Travis, what are your thoughts?
That's kind of where I was going to go with it, but you hit the nail on the head. There's every action, there is a reaction, there is a consequence to decisions, and I don't know how she couldn't have known that marijuana was going to be illegal for that organization. I mean, she had to have known. Like, there's just no question of that. At the end of the day, what happened to her was terrible, but she chose to do that. She made that choice. She had to have known that it wasn't going to be allowed. It's not a question. So it's, you feel bad for her because, she is 21. I mean, they were probably going to win gold. You're right, Andy. I mean, they were set up to be, she was set up to do really, really good, but you can't just give everybody a pass. I mean, the rules are rules, and maybe I'm harsh for saying that, but it's the truth. And now going to the Michael Phelps thing now, there's a lot of people that have been comparing the two, but totally different scenarios. And Sean, you can chime in anytime you want with this, but and I've seen this also as, I saw something on Facebook where they were trying to make it as a race issue. Like America's just out together and America's racist. I don't see how that's a logical argument, because these are two different scenarios. The Michael Phelps thing, what happened with Michael Phelps, and correct me if I'm wrong anytime here, a picture surfaced of him smoking a bong of a party that was like months ago before the actual Olympics had happened. It was like a previous incident that happened months ago. And he never tested positive for THC.
Right.
Like, he didn't fail any drug tests. I don't even know I know they had to have drug tested him, and he didn't fail the test. And he definitely had repercussions from it. Like, he had he lost sponsorships, didn't he?
Kellogg's was his big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't tell me that he got a little slap on the wrist. Like, they were pretty harsh on him for what happened.
He had a 3-month ban from competing.
Yeah. So you're gonna tell me that he got a slap on the wrist? Like, I think that were kind of harsh with him too. And he did something he wasn't supposed to be doing, and it went out in public.
Do you guys
remember? He didn't fail a test prior to this, but go ahead, Sean.
Well, the big thing is Michael Phelps' situation wasn't even like during Olympic time. It was like in the midst of it was not during Olympic trials or getting ready for the Olympics, any shit like that. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember, and I'm sure we could probably pull some up, but I remember the tabloids and the news stations acted like Michael Phelps had killed a toddler. It was all all those magazines, they were like, Michael Phelps is addicted to drugs. He doesn't care about swimming anymore. They tried.
He was a mess. Yeah, it was crazy.
They tried going in on this dude for smoking weed, and that's the thing is I saw a list of a couple things, and he received a 3-month ban from the national U.S. Swim team, but it wasn't Olympic season at the time. As far as I'm tracking, but never tested positive for THC. It literally just stemmed from the photo. Lost a multi-million-dollar Kellogg sponsor, as well as a lot of other different sponsors. And it legit, Michael Phelps was known as a pothead for a while after that. And then by the time the Olympics came around, America didn't care.
He was a hero again.
Because it was 2 years later and the ban had been lifted, never tested positive for any kind of issue. And that was definitely at a time when weed wasn't legal in any states yet.
Right.
So it was like definitely a different time. But man, there was one other thing I wanted to mention real fast, especially like because I think people kind of seem to forget like how big the Olympics really are, like why they're such a big deal. But if you're, let's say you're an athlete from another country, and let's say, you had a similar situation where and I hate comparing, apples to oranges, but you're in a situation where it's close to Olympic time and you go through some traumatic experience, but you don't break the rules by smoking marijuana during a time when you're in a testing pool. And then you find out that there's an athlete that did break the rules, but just because due to public outcry, they allow her to compete. Now, is that fair to all the other athletes in the world who compete fairly and at least follow the, because again, I hate the term compete fairly because she really did not do anything wrong.
Yeah, no, it's
But however, there are certain rules that you are held to. You are held at a higher standard that you need to follow. And so if if they were to just say, whatever, it's no big deal, then it's just like everyone else who could have been smoking weed was like, well, wait a minute. What about this? What about this?
yeah,
What about this?
she gets a pass, then they have to lift the ban for everybody.
Exact. That's a big thing is you let one person have a pass, then you got to have everyone else. And there's, like, I hate saying it like this too, but there's a lot of, maybe there's an athlete that did not qualify, like that alternate or whoever it might be. Let's say they hadn't qualified for the Olympics, but they followed the rules. Like they did everything that they had to, and then now they have an opportunity to showcase their skills. Which I believed happened. I think she straight up said like, yeah, I did this. But it was along the lines of like, whenever it first came out, like, she was coping with the loss of her mother, where she was like, I had just dealt with a really terrible loss and I smoked weed. But I don't know if she had went on to say, that she had known that it was illegal. That I don't know off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. Hey V, I just got a message. I'm not sure what's up, but they're saying that they can't hear your audio. They can hear Travis and I, but I can hear you fine through my headphones.
Can you hear me now?
It's pretty loud, but they're saying.
Okay, there. So I'm sorry, I'm having issues with my mic. And so what I think what the issue is, coming back, what I'm saying is we had a guy from Clopton, Donovan Denslow, who was he's been a national junior college champion. He's been
still got nothing.
Yeah, and
let me pull up Facebook. We'll try to figure it out. Travis, if you got any thoughts, go on it. Because I can hear you fine, but I'm gonna pull up and see if I can hear him.
I don't know. It's just really bad. I mean, I wanted to watch her race too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not against her in this. Like, I really wanted to watch her run, but at the same time, we're kind of beating a dead horse here. But it is what it is. But it sucks too, because you got to think. There's the whole, in Andy's point of view with it, it sets a bad example. And in some parts of the world, it is viewed as like this bad thing. But we have places here in the States that it is legal and everyone does it. And it's seen as like a normal thing. So in our society, I guess there's such an outcry because it's more of an accepted thing. But, again, Sean, you brought up the point. This is the Olympics is a world organization, and it's not just a U.S. organization with U.S. point of views. And we have to understand that. The U.S. isn't running the Olympics. The United States does not run the Olympics, and the Olympics are in Tokyo, which I don't know if weed's even legal in Japan or not. And so maybe they have their own stipulations or whatever with it too. So it just sucks to see it, man. It really does. But I hope this.
To answer your question about weed's legality in Japan, it is illegal medically and recreationally.
Okay, so yeah, you got to think too. Japan, and then maybe this is going to sound harsh, but I'm coming at the point of view of Japan. Does Japan want to have athletes from other countries coming in that take a substance that they deem as illegal and not right? I mean, maybe that looks bad on them. I don't know. I mean, granted, they're representing the United States, so I don't know. It's just a really unfortunate situation. It really is. And I don't know what else to say about it, to be honest. I mean, we pretty much.
I should see here in a second if we can hear him. I know it looks like he's getting everything set up. I thought I sounded like I could hear him when listening, so I don't know if it was just that one listener was having some issues.
Can you guys hear me all right now?
Hold on one moment.
Yeah, I can. Well, now I don't think I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Oh. There you go.
Oh. Yep.
Okay. I'm having this new setup.
I can hear you just fine on Facebook.
Okay. This is I know, great. Hey, 20 episodes and we have these kind of issues still, So
I do have a question for you guys, and I do want to get your insight. And I almost didn't want to bring this topic up, but that's why we're here. So
fire away. Let's hear it.
So I want to get your guys' piece. We have talked a couple times, and we've talked with a couple of different guests about this, and I would love to get people's insight. If they are watching on Facebook, I would love to get their insight on this. We've talked about cancel culture a couple times on what people say, how people react, what people do, what happens to people when certain things are said that are posted online. An interesting thing that was brought up about Miss Richardson was, and again, you don't see this trending in the news. You don't see this really trending anywhere. But a while ago, again, some might argue that it is, some might argue that it isn't. I'm not going to repeat the exact stuff just because there's some language that I don't want to use on here, but also I just don't want to use in general. That Sha'Carri Richardson put some homophobic slurs about the rapper Lil Nas X.
I had not heard
and
this.
Then kind of went on a couple other different things, using some derogatory homophobic slurs. Was included in a string of just a couple tweets, and I don't know if it was just due to the reaction of like a music video or something, but essentially it was just like, to put it in real layman's terms, because again, you can go find the tweet, you can Google it, it exists. Essentially, like, says that she doesn't mess with gay men that like the color pink, or men that like pink are gay, and used it in like a derogatory way. Mm-hmm. I just thought it interesting that when we see it all the time, there are individuals that get quote unquote canceled for stuff like this. And it's like the number one thing in the world. Like, for example, Chris Pratt went to church with his wife and was the number one trending thing in the world for a bit, because him going to that church, because people said, again, I don't know the truth behind it, but people said that this church donated money to basically straight camps.
Right.
And people were like, cancel him, fire him from Guardians of the Galaxy, do all this. You see that kind of energy there. We've seen energy all over the place for when people say one thing or the next. But this has been a pretty hush-hush situation. Just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on maybe why, or if it should even be an issue, or if like this is in the past, it's not a big deal, and what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I think that we're getting to a point now, though, where people can't voice an opinion without being offensive. Now, I do not condone homophobic slurs. I don't condone transgender stuff. I don't condone any of that stuff. You know, we've all had our time when we've probably said our share of those kind of jokes or those kind of things. But in open circles, if you're a public figure, if you're somebody, keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut, because especially if you're somebody who's supposed to be an example. And again, this goes back to one of our earliest podcasts where we talked about being role models, and Charles Barkley saying, I'm not a role model and stuff like that. It doesn't matter if you want to be looked at or not. You're now under the microscope. You're now under the lens where people are going to look at you and they're going to watch you. You better keep your nose clean. You better keep, watch what you say. And I mean, when you're under the microscope like that, people are going to be critical. They're going to be, so I don't know. I think she needs to be careful of what she says.
Yeah, I agree. And it is interesting, the fact that this isn't being talked about, especially now with issues like this being such a hot topic. And if you are somebody that's critical of people like that, you typically do get canceled very quickly. So I'm kind of surprised. I wasn't even aware of this. So I'm surprised that hasn't even come to light yet. But again, it's, we already talked the whole cancel culture thing. And
it's interesting too, because I mean, look at, I'm not sure if I could even name anyone off the top of my head, but like look at like companies like Nike, like their stances on certain things, and them dropping the hammer on Manny Pacquiao lost his Nike sponsorship back in the day whenever he spoke out on his opinion about
that's right, I remember homosexuality.
That. Yeah. They dropped him as a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't they dropped her as a sponsor?
Well, I was just saying, I think Reed Leak had said earlier that Nike is staying with Richards despite the tests and despite everything else. And I mean, I don't know. Nike, in and of itself, to me, Nike is a enigma because who they stand for and who they don't stand for and who they drop and who they don't drop really amazes me. I mean, I'm afraid Nike is afraid that she'll drop the race card or something like that, and that'll, who knows.
That's what confuses me. Nike is, they tout themselves as like this brand that's against stuff like that, but then you have one of your athletes that apparently came out online and said something against it, and yet they don't do anything. That is, I don't know. Nike's one of those weird. It's just a weird conflict of interest that company has with a lot of issues and connections and questionable decisions. But yeah, that's it's interesting.
One other issue I do want to bring up that I want to and there's been and I sent this meme to you guys earlier today, or it wasn't really a meme, but the whole thing with Carrie Richardson being banned from marijuana use and not for what she's been saying. And this has been kind of flying under the radar about this New Zealander athlete. The first transgender to compete in the Olympics is a New Zealand weightlifter by the name of Laurel Hubbard. Laurel Hubbard is going to be competing with the women. And IOC's rules for trans women, they have to maintain, and I'm just reading this directly here, maintain a particular level of testosterone for 12 months in order to compete as a self-identifying woman. It completely ignores and this is commentary now, it says it completely ignores the physical advantages in speed, height, stamina, and strength and male-born will have. The weightlifting community, it says, argue that the policy does not guarantee fair competition. The determining criteria, a maximum reading of, and again, this is things I don't understand, but it's 10 nanomoles per liter of testosterone is at least 5 times more than a biological woman. And one of the outspoken critics against this is one of the late weightlifters from Belgium. Her name is Anna van Bellingham. Who's going to be more likely, she's Belgium's number one person, has said that New Zealanders' presidents would be like a bad joke for women competitors. She said, I'm very aware that defining a legal frame for transgender participation in sports is very difficult since there's an infinite variety of situations and that reaching an entirely satisfactory solution from either side of the debate is probably impossible. However, anyone that has trained in weightlifting at a high level knows this to be true in their bones. This particular situation is unfair to the sport and to the athletes. And life-changing opportunities are missed for some athletes, medals and Olympic qualifications, and we are powerless. Of course, the debate is taking place in broader context of discrimination against transgender people, and that's why the question is never free of ideology. So, we haven't, and I hope that I don't have to deal with this as, and I am actually the assistant track coach for the high school, and I hope that we don't have to deal with this. I heard about this in Connecticut, a lawsuit that this young lady had lost. She had lost a chance at a athletic scholarship to UConn, the UConn track team that was given to a transgender woman that she had ran against, and guy ran against a girl, and I don't know what do you. I want to hear what you guys think before I put my 10 cents worth in on this.
Sean, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, so there's two big things that when it comes to situations like this, that I try to take into consideration. I think this is a pretty pivotal moment, and regardless of what people think, it's pivotal in the fact of there will be a big emphasis on where she places in the games. Because because I don't even know. I mean, naturally she's qualifying for the Olympics, so she's pretty freaking good. But I don't know where she would technically rank amongst other, women Olympic lifters in the world. Like if you take her numbers now or whatever her numbers are and compare them to the numbers of other women across the world, if she goes in and nabs gold and like dominates and nabs gold, again, I don't know where she stacks up. I have no idea what this could be a situation where not even on the, close to the totem pole. And then I think there's going to be a lot of people that don't really care. The issue is, again, this is all a hypothetical, but if this individual goes out and gets gold, and I hate saying it like this, but who's to say that then there's not going to be other individuals that see this who might not qualify for their sport, their gender necessarily, but sees the sponsors, the money that can be made as a gold medalist now, wouldn't make the transition potentially to compete and earn gold by having by reassigning, your gender, re-identifying your gender.
Do you think that?
I think so. A big issue with that, though, is like I think there's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, everyone's going to do that then, and I really don't think it's as large of a number as some people might actually believe. Like, it really is not. But again, there's a lot of Olympic events, and if it's just one or two, and then like again. There's that big talk in like MMA. Like there have been men who have transitioned to female and competed in mixed martial arts, and like the first thing was like a lot of people are like, holy shit, this person's just gonna kill any woman they step in the cage with, and that just wasn't the case. I actually have seen a couple videos of individuals who have transitioned, and that was like the big thing. They're like, oh, this person's gonna, and they ended up getting their ass whooped. The other thing that I think of that it comes down to the world. Again, people seem to forget the world's rather large. The Olympic Committee that makes these, it's green, it's good to go. These are rather large it's worldwide. Okay. So just because, let's say here in America, we think it's okay, let's not forget, we're not the only nation that competes in the Olympics. All right. If there's a vote done and everyone says, yeah, man, it's cool, then it's cool. Like, you can't argue it. If the rest of the world doesn't care, or if the rest of the world is like, or the majority rules, go with majority. That's why they have the committee. That's why it's made up. That's why they voted on these things. I'm sure that it came down to the Olympic Committee had to make a decision on whether or not it was going to be allowed or not. And clearly it's allowed. So regardless about how anyone feels about it, at least the committee from all the nations of the world seem to not care as much.
Ryan Robbins asked, he said, does there need to be a transgender section in the Olympics? If they're going to allow it, he said, I believe that they need to have their own section so it doesn't affect men or women's sections. Here's my 2 cents on it. I'm going to go back to a level of fairness, whether or not like you said, Sean, there are going to be those who got their, MMA got their butts beat and got, just got flat out hammered. And yet then I see women who can compete as men. If I said somebody, back in her prime, could Ronda Rousey compete against some dudes and be something? Yeah. In her prime. Who knows? And like you said, I also agree, who knows what Laurel Hubbard will do? I mean, Laurel Hubbard may be just a flash in the pan, and it may end up being a non-issue. She may just end up sucking just as bad as if in the men's trial, but at the same time, I again, call me bigoted or whatever you want to call me with this, but I do not think it's fair for women who have trained all their life as women in a women's event for a woman's competition, and now you have to go up against a man. The cards are stacked against you. I mean, I have seen, you know, I've had really fast girls on track teams. I've had really fast guys on track teams. I just got done with an 8th grade girl who just threw out of her mind. You know, was an unreal thrower, both shot put and discus. And she dismantled just about every guy on our team. She practiced with the guys' shots and threw farther than the guys. And she went to girls' events and she medaled. This one of the few times I've had in my track coaching career where I've had a girl who has medaled first or second place at every meet in both events that she competed in. So now what happens if she comes up against a guy now? Let's say that she competed against a guy who is identifying as a woman. Well, it's not fair. You can't discriminate against her. Well, for one thing, in high school and in junior high, I don't know how it is on the collegiate level. I'm sure it's the same thing on the collegiate level. You throw a lighter shot. You throw, the discus, and you throw a lighter discus too. So you're automatically given an unfair. I think it's an unfair advantage. And my wife always asks me the nights of our podcast, what are we going to be talking about? And she said, you recognize the opportunity as there are some issues, not opportunity, but the issues that there are some people who are transgendered who, when they were little, they had oops moments, those who were hermaphrodites or anything like that. I can understand issues like that, but, when you're, in your 20s or in your late teens or whatever, I'm going to transition, you still have the biological makeup of a man or a woman, and you're bringing that with you. I mean, to me, you want to talk about, and again, this may be a shock statement, but you want to talk about performance enhancing. There's performance enhancing, in my opinion, right there.
Yeah, it's I'll give my 2 cents on this. It's good that they're regulating the hormones. As someone who understands this stuff, hormones play a huge part in strength performance enhancement. I mean, that's why steroids and pro hormones are so effective. Mm-hmm. So it's good they're controlling that. However, they can control this person's hormones all they want. At the end of the day, they're still structured, like in their bones and their hips. They're still structured as a male, regardless of what changes they may do. And men are biologically built to carry more weight than a woman. It's just the way we are built. You can change the genitalia, do whatever you want. At the end of the day, it's just the structure of the bones. It is what it is. So there is that. And I do think that I do think it's unfair. I really do. Yeah, they can control the hormones, but the person's still built in a way that enables them to carry more weight. Now, granted, they could bomb out of this meet and not do well. I mean, weightlifting is a very technical sport. It's not just strength, so, who knows what'll happen. I mean, if they place top 3 and get a medal, I think that's undoubtedly a sign that, hey, this is a serious problem.
Well, I was going to say that's going to be the issue if this person medals. Another one, Kyle McGuire, one of our friends who is on the over the road trucker, he chimes in and says, having their own section wouldn't work either. They want equality in their minds. This wouldn't make them happy either. My opinion, it shouldn't be allowed. I'm sorry, but women shouldn't have to compete with someone who is biologically a man. But he goes on to say, but what Sean said is so true. If they're allowing it, it's obvious that the majority is okay with it, and there's not much we can say about it. So, again,
I don't understand how, and this is just this is my personal bias with this. I don't understand how this is accepted by the World Organization, but yet the runner, that's not accepted, that she smoked weed, but they're accepting this. Like, I understand rules.
Is it apples and oranges or not?
I know it's two different topics, but it goes back. I'm biased on this because it's just my opinion. It's not. But at the end of the day, I mean, if we're talking performance enhancing, marijuana is not performance enhancing. Now, a male competing in women's competition, I do believe, is a natural performance enhancement, whether you control the hormones or not. They're built different. It's just, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. And apparently the world has different opinions, and that's the rules. So what do you do?
I can't, I mean, again, you sound, it's like, people are afraid to really voice their opinion on this because they don't want to find. I don't know if I want to use the word homophobic or xenophobic or what the right phobic word I want to use here, but there has to be a line in the sand drawn somewhere to say, okay, you have your chance to compete as a man, because I'm not to sound whatever, but that's the plumbing, that's the stuff you're born with. You can cut away, you can cut off, and you can be reassigned with different parts, but you're still carrying that gene, you're still carrying that chromosome, whatever that XXXY, you're still carrying that thing, and that's you can't. I mean, as much as people want to change, and they say, well, I feel uncomfortable, and this is going to be, I mean, we obviously need to discuss this at a later time, at another podcast, but with people who want to do that, if I go back to Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner growing up was, I mean, you read his life story. He was messed up 7 ways to Sunday within his family life, and then when his marriage, I mean, heck, he married a Kardashian, so you know what his marriage life was going to be like. And so, but what he has done, Caitlyn Jenner, and I mean, he's gone all the way. I mean, he's had his penis cut off, and he's been genetically reassigned.
It's ma'am.
Yeah, but he's still Bruce Jenner. At his soul, at his core, he is still Bruce Jenner. You can cut everything off you want to. You can get all the hormone therapy and all the hormone injections and all the stuff that you want to have done. But at his core, he is still Bruce Jenner. He is still he. And I mean, you can do whatever you want to. There is no biological way at your core to change who you are. And again, I'll sound bigoted by saying that or whatever, but you want to talk about science. Science is science. You cannot change what and again, we can go, and this is going to be a topic for another day, but I mean, there's a 1,000 different directions why they say, well, why do people get genetically reassigned then? Or to get, and it's for various reasons. But now we're bringing this into the realm of sports competition on a world level, on a world stage, to where somebody is going to compete against this first ever transgender Olympian, and it's going to be a big deal. Now, I mean, if it was a transgender politician, or if it was a transgender construction worker, or a transgender fill in the blank, okay, more power to you. I mean, heck, Joe Biden has one of the people in his cabinet is transgender. Good deal. And that doesn't hinder anything about that person's ability to advise the president on anything. It has no bearing on the situation. But when it comes into the realm of athletic competition, then I think we have to revisit this as to what we're going to allow. And I'm sorry for my dog to be barking in the background.
No, it's fine. But no, I like how you worded that. It's
I mean, again, I think it'll be a good topic for another day. I mean, for me, I could care less, and I'm a firm believer in and maybe not as vocal as others, but I am a firm believer in, like, if gender reassignment is what you want, like, I have no issue whatsoever with addressing and understanding that if you were born a male, if you transition to a female, then you're a woman. That's my take. It's my 2 cents of just how you feel, how what your heart and soul tells you. Cool. What I can say is, regardless of whoever it is, there's always going to be an uphill battle, and the reason is, and again, it's the same thing, and it's the steroid argument, it's the testosterone argument. There has to be a standard, and you it's one of those things, like, you cannot. That's why I like that there is the testosterone cap. Like, you have to set a standard, like, that you have to, and this is where it is going to lie too. And again, this is where, again, it's going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to be one for of the foreseeable future as transitions become more common. There will come a time where a standard is set, and it might not be the answer that some people want to hear, but I believe that eventually, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think we might get to a point where they might backtrack and get to a point where they say, if you were biologically born one gender or the other, that is the gender you can compete in as a professional when it comes to certain things. Now, if it's an unsanctioned, or let's say it's an event that, like, doesn't test for testosterone levels, doesn't test for steroids, doesn't test for anything like that, then it might just be like, whatever. But when it comes to things like the Olympics, when it comes to, like, professional sports, I legitimately do think they will eventually have to come up with a standard. And it might not be one that a lot of that one side of the coin is not going to agree with. But again, well, it'll be interesting to see exactly where she places in the Olympics, because that's going to play a big factor into the level of complaining that people do or don't do.
And if she doesn't place within the top 10, then it's going to be a non-issue. So,
exactly.
I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was something to make note of. And like I said, this is going to be a top. I mean, I want to revisit the transgender. I want to address that as a whole because, and I feel like we could probably get a guest on it. I don't know of anybody right off the top. I'm sure you.
Yeah, I'll see if I can reach out and see if I can find an individual that is transgender that's dealt with the sports thing and what they kind of had to go through and get their insight.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's good. Good.
Yeah, gentlemen, I think we've had a great conversation.
Sorry about
sorry
about the technical stuff there, but
no, it's cool. I think in the coming in the next week or so, I think we're gonna get a lot more information about the Richardson situation. There might be some updates come next week. As of the ending of this podcast, the Suns are officially up 1-0 on the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's pretty interesting. We've got new teams in the finals, so it'll be something.
That's good. That's a good
gentlemen,
thing.
before we sign out, is there anything you guys would like to add?
Keep on supporting us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and absolutely on that note. On that note, as we are 20 episodes in, you can always find us on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Anywhere you get your podcast needs, you can check us on there. Again, thank you all so much for staying active in the comments. We'd love to see more of you guys and continue to let this podcast grow. We'll definitely do a share-a-thon here pretty soon just to get the word out to some more friends and family, and we can't wait. Once we will get our guest on one way or the other, and we will come at you with some great stuff. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week.
All right, we'll see you guys.